Hi everyone, hope you're well. Chris Cowlin here. Now before we get into it, I'd just like to inform you about a new website selling quality current and retro Spurs jerseys, okjersey.com. They sell all current and retro Tottenham Hotspur shirts in all sizes. They sell the current fan and player versions as well as the 80s and 90s retro shirts, including my very favourite, the 1991 FA Cup final shirt. You can order very easily from okjersey.com, and if you use the code Chris, you will receive an 8% discount off your final order. You can also use the QR code on the top left of your screen. And by the way, they also have some training wear here and the 25-26 colour special edition jersey. Hi everyone, hope you're all well. This is another edition of the Daily Tottenham Transfer News Show. My name is Chris Cowlin, and as per usual, I'll be joined by Craig Dearman. We'll be covering all of the latest Spurs news, rumours and reports. Of course, it is day 18 now of the January transfer window. There are now 15 days left. Now, we're live on YouTube, Facebook and X, live here every single day, covering everything Tottenham Hotspur related on the transfer window throughout the whole of January. And of course, the winter window closes on the 2nd of Feb at 7 p.m. Now, if you are watching on YouTube, please do hit that subscribe button, press the like button and comment below. Give us your thoughts on the window so far and how you're feeling as a Tottenham Hotspur fan right now. And also turn on that notification bell so YouTube informs you every single time we go live and upload a video. And you can also get all of the updates and all the latest Spurs news and reports at Chris Cowlin on X, Facebook, Instagram and TikTok. Craig, good afternoon. How are you?
Afternoon. I'm not too bad. Not too bad. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff on X and in the media at the moment surrounding Tottenham Hotspur, isn't there?
You did kind of warn me earlier on in the season when I said about doing these shows throughout the whole of January. You said that we might be talking about a possible departure of the manager or a new manager coming in. I had hoped that we'd be talking a lot more about transfers and Spurs doing a lot more business. Of course, so far we've got the Conor Gallagher deal over the line. Of course, he made his debut in our 2-1 home defeat against West Ham on Saturday. We'll talk about that in a second. And the Brazilian left-back, the 19-year-old Sousa, has not been confirmed as yet, but he was in the West Stand on Saturday watching our 2-1 defeat against West Ham. And after the game, he went through the mixed zone where journalists spotted him, and he went into the changing rooms to say hello to Thomas Frank, the coaching staff, and his future teammates. So that one will be announced in the very, very near future, may even be later today. But let's start here, Craig, because another defeat at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. I tell you what, the boos are just getting louder and louder. And before the final whistle, the whole of the South Stand and then all the other fans in the stadium started joining in. You're getting sacked in the morning. I don't know how a manager can come back from this, if I'm completely honest. And, you know, people joked to me during this last week about, you know, can you imagine if Spurs lost to West Ham? And every single time, even on this channel, I interrupted people and said, that can't happen and it won't happen. I felt confident that we were going to win that game. And honestly, I'm sitting here and I don't know where Spurs go from here, to be honest, because there is a lot of work to do still in this January window. Will the manager be here? Will he go out the door? Who knows? But Thomas Frank turned up for work nice and early this morning at Hotspur Way to prepare for the Borussia Dortmund game on Tuesday. The squad will train in front of the media tomorrow on Monday. Frank will then have his press conference Monday afternoon, as well as a Spurs squad member. Very usual for the Champions League games. BBC Sport have just stated that Thomas Frank is under significant internal scrutiny, with the club considering calling time on his 7-month reign at the club. At least one member of the club's executive team has actively raised the option of ending Thomas Frank's reign in recent weeks. Saturday's home defeat by West Ham means his position is now under threat as the club's hierarchy weighs up whether they should move immediately or give Frank a chance to turn things around. There is also an update very, very recently in the last hour or so from Italian journalist and transfer expert Fabrizio Romano. He has just stated that Tottenham tried to show support to Thomas Frank by hiring John Atinga as part of the backroom staff during the week. But then over the weekend, Tottenham have lost again. Now the situation is very, very complicated for Thomas Frank and Tottenham. His job is at serious risk. So let's see what happens in the next hours and days. But the situation of Thomas Frank at Tottenham is not safe at this stage. They could change the manager. Let's see if they're going to do that now, or will they give him the opportunity to try and turn around the situation. But the situation at the moment is very tense for Thomas Frank and Tottenham. Craig, how do you feel as a Spurs fan right now? I think you've made it very clear, and you've spoke on this channel for a number of weeks about you're not happy with the type of football that we play and Thomas Frank. How are you feeling today, having come to terms with us losing that game against a team that has been very poor this season and sitting in the relegation zone?
Well, firstly, let me just say that I don't dislike Thomas Frank as a person. He seems like a really, to use a phrase of his, top chap. He seems a really nice bloke. What I'm questioning is his, and I have been for months, couple of months, 2-3 months now, is that he's not the right fit for Spurs. And you get behind the manager, you obviously still support the club, but the more this has gone on, the more it's just ingrained in me that he was never the right fit for Tottenham and that the manager needs to go. I feel incredibly low at the moment. I actually feel hopeful that the club do the right thing because everybody knows where I stand on it. The manager has to go. I think a majority of the fan base is in that position right now that the manager has to go. How can a manager come back? You said that several weeks ago, when you lose the away fans, that's pretty much the writing on the wall. It's not just the away fans he's lost the home fans, the sections of the fan base singing, you're getting sacked in the morning. I mean, that's horrible for somebody to hear, let me say firstly. But when that happens, how can a manager come back from that? I personally think that the club have no choice. I think they have no choice. They simply have to move Thomas Frank on. You've only got to go on social media and see what everybody is saying. The outpouring of desire to have Pochettino back, and I know I talk about Pochettino all the time, but just go on social media, go on X or whatever. The huge swathes of the fan base want Pochettino to come back, get the club to do what a majority of the fans want. I know everybody doesn't want Poch back. I get that, and you won't get him until the summer anyway. But the club surely have to listen to people. And I said to you that, for example, when you go on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and they ask the audience, and a majority of the audience are right, how many times are they actually wrong? Very, very rarely. So Daniel Levy always spoke about he's just the custodian of the club, and it's basically that it's run for the fans, but because without the fans, the club would be nothing. They've got to listen to the fans. They've got to listen to the fans, and Thomas Frank has to go. He has to go soon. And in my opinion, you hire an interim who gets Tottenham Hotspur, who gets the club, tries to do a bit of work to reunite everybody and break all the fractures that are around at the moment, and there's many of them, and get on the phone to Pochettino and get him in for next season, because he's in my opinion, one of the only people that A, the fans would give time to, and B, actually get behind. That's what they have to do, in my opinion, but I'm feeling incredibly low at the moment.
Craig, Thomas Frank uses the word aligned an awful lot. Now, where do you think the club stand at the moment? Because we spoke positively on yesterday's show about Vinay Venkatesham's 2-page message to the Tottenham Hotspur fans. This was published in the matchday programme ahead of the West Ham game. And he's clearly identified the issues. But, you know, I've said so many times about we must see positive signs in games. You know, Thomas Frank, what he says in his press conferences don't always add up. And some of us think, like, did we watch the same game? When he's given some of the comments, saying that we're closer, you know, going forward rather than, you know, going backwards. And, you know, not a lot of people agree with that. Yes, we understand and we know that he's had players injured, but you've got to see signs in games that we are progressing as a football club. When Vinay speaks out about closing that gap, you know, having that connection again with the Tottenham Hotspur fan base, what's going to be better for the board? And I don't know whether you've seen online in the last couple of hours, someone posted a video of their friend going up to Viv Lewis, one of the Tottenham Hotspur owners, and he basically said, sell. If you're not going to invest, you know, sell the football club. The football is terrible. So, you know, that can't be nice for one of the Lewis family to have fans coming up saying that type of stuff. But, of course, I've said many times that I feel like the club need to engage with a lot of the fans, you know, even more so, whether it's regular fans forums or whether it's a board member like Vinay going on press conference or however they want to do it. That connection needs to be a lot better. How do you feel that what do you think they're thinking right now?
They're going to. I think they're in a difficult position because they've come out, even though Vinay didn't actually specifically mention Thomas Frank in that statement, as far as I remember, it was clear the backing was sort of there. So they've kind of kept that sort of open. They probably deliberately didn't mention Thomas Frank. They're in an awkward position because, as you say, they've just hired another coach, but it's almost a dereliction of duty if they don't act now. We're a laughing stock at the moment anyway. So whether they sack him or not sack him, we're still under intense scrutiny from the press and other clubs. Personally, I don't care. All I care about is Spurs. So they've got to do the right thing. I think the main thing is, and I was always of the opinion, and I'm still of this opinion, if ENIC and the board have changed and they want to go in a different way and spend more money essentially and up the wage structure and all that, you have got to give them till the end of this window till you make a judgment on it, because the window runs till just into February. So you've got to give them that. But I do get, like you said, the chap that confronted Vivian Lewis, it's this, everybody is so frustrated at the moment. That's just another one of these showings of frustration in fans when he probably wouldn't have done that in the past. It just goes to show how frustrated people are. And so the board need to act. The board needs to do something. I personally can't see the point in giving Thomas Frank the game midweek. I really can't. I can't even see the point in keeping him to Burnley. What's that going to, you know, even if there were signs of improving against Dortmund or we turn Burnley over, whatever, I think the writing's on the wall. I don't think it's going to change, and they've got to act. They've got to do something. They've got to do something.
When they've kept saying that they're so aligned with one another, you know, Frank, the sporting directors, although we know Fabio is leaving after the 2nd of Feb, and Vinay's statement, how do you think it would look on the club? The fact that we've signed Conor Gallagher last week, Sousa is about to be announced. You know, can they announce that and then sack a manager, or can they sack a manager and then announce a brand new signing? And, you know, how does it look for the football club? Because when they're saying that they're all united, and certainly Thomas Frank's comments after the West Ham game, and Romero said something completely different on what his thoughts on the game were.
Yeah, look, it wouldn't look good, but I don't know what way round you do it. If they're considering sacking Thomas Frank, which it sounds like they are, it sounds like those conversations are happening. What way round do you do it? Do you announce a new player and then sack the manager and announce that? There's no right or wrong answer, probably. I don't know. I think a lot of the fan base actually wouldn't care. I think most of the fan base want Thomas Frank gone. I think most of the I think we're fairly in touch with a majority of the fan base on this channel, and we just know what it's like. So I think regardless, they've got to do something, and what way round they do that, I don't know. It's a bit crap on Sousa, to be honest with you, because young kid excited to be coming to London to a new club, and there's all this knocking about, and it's kind of, if they sack Thomas Frank and announce that, it's kind of going to overshadow his signing. So if it was me, I'd probably announce the new signing first, to be honest with you, and give the lad a little bit of love from the fans, because that will get lost in news, of course, about Thomas Frank and everything that goes along with it, getting a replacement in. So we're a mess at the moment, though, Chris. Let's face it, it's terrible. And I would say, and we've spoken about this before, if the club do want to go in a different direction and make that connection back with the fans, on top of the other things we've discussed, Vinay Venkatesham or whoever, come on this channel, talk to Chris. And we're the biggest channel. We can actually give you a voice direct to the fans. That's what I would say. If you want to do something differently, do something like that.
Yeah, we're definitely welcome to have board members on this channel, and we pose questions to them. Absolutely. Interestingly, Craig, what did you make of Frank's assessment of the West Ham game? Because Christian Romero, in a rare public interview after the game with the club, he said it is difficult and also a disaster moment for us, but especially in this moment, we need silence. Back tomorrow in training, working hard every day and stay together. In 3 days, we have another big match, and in this moment, it is really silence and hard work. It is a difficult moment. Thomas Frank said something completely different. So do you think that the players are aligned? Because I must say, in the post-match press conference, I said that one thing that I'm really worried about is the body language of Mickey van der Ven. I feel like it's not every player. I feel like there's a handful of players who you look at them now and you just think they've had enough. And I feel like a lot of fans have had enough. You can hear that. You can see it. More empty seats again yesterday. And people are feeling pretty down. Some people are angry. Some people are just numb to it. Some people, and I suppose I'm in this category, I'm just getting used to us losing. And I'm just getting used to hearing and seeing the boos at the stadium. And I tell you what, it's a really, really sad situation on how we have fallen. And I just feel like, we're falling rapidly. And, to try and get back up to the levels where we were, it is going to take a long time. I know, we're patient people and we're realistic people and balanced people, but, if it don't get better soon, we're gonna fall even further, and it's going to take even longer to get back up. But what did you make of Romero's comments?
I agreed more with Romero than Thomas Frank, to be honest with you. You could see the stress on his face, and you're right. He don't come out after the game much and speak. His English is okay, isn't it? But to hold that sort of conversation, it must be quite difficult for him still. But he came out.
He started the interview like this. Which is probably what we should do. Start the podcast. Yeah.
I think I have a few times actually, but seeing Romero like that, I think Romero. What you get from Romero is genuine. He's being genuine and he's being genuinely honest about things. And for Thomas Frank to say that, I'm paraphrasing, but that we're nearer getting better than getting worse, it's utter rubbish. Utter rubbish. I expected us. I think we discussed it, and you've asked me for score predictions and stuff on the West Ham game. I expected us to win yesterday. I expected us to win quite well, but we just gave West Ham so much space, and that was their highest XG since almost the beginning of the season for an away game. This is West Ham, who are struggling incredibly bad. I've watched them on the telly. They've had some shocking games. And they come to our stadium and turn us over. Not good. As you can imagine,
there are so many reports, literally from every single national media outlet today, about Thomas Frank's future. And by the way, Javi Simmons was seen limping out of the stadium after the West Ham game, but the Times have stated that Thomas Frank's future is now in the balance after Spurs suffering an embarrassing home defeat to West Ham. The Daily Mail has stated that Tottenham are now considering a change of manager. Who else? Independent here. There are figures at the Spurs board who want to give Thomas Frank the Dortmund game. They wanted to give him at least a chance of working through better conditions. Further meetings are expected to take place on Sunday. TalkSport have stated it is understood that Mauricio Pochettino would be open to return to Tottenham after leading the USA at this summer's World Cup. And another one I was going to bring up, Craig, to talk about the game. And I said on a media interview earlier today, I don't think that this is all on Thomas Frank, and I know some people will agree. This is on the board. This is on transfer windows of the past not being good enough. The board really do need to step up. I know you can't do everything in January. January is difficult, but the summer is a massive window for me, absolutely huge. And the other point that I'll bring up is that, and a few people have brought it up today as well, about players. The players do need to step up. And interestingly, Alan Shearer, when Spurs normally lose, I don't watch Match of the Day. I give it a miss. However, I did a fan show when I got in last night for a couple of hours, and then went to bed at silly o'clock watching Match of the Day. And Tottenham was just in my head. And I wish sometimes it wouldn't be. I wish sometimes I could actually have a few hours peace and quiet and without Tottenham, but I can't. Alan Shearer said the players aren't given enough. No doubt about that. I look at Tottenham. I don't see a plan. I don't see a system. The players look lost. I know that they have Kulusevski and Maddison out. And when you look at some of their other signings in the summer, the numbers, Simmons, Tel, Muani, I'm thinking you have to give us something more. You have to give us something extra. Thomas Frank, knows the rules. If you don't win games, you are going to get the sack. He looked like a very tired man towards the end of the game. And do you know what, Craig? I completely agree with everything that Alan Shearer said. Premier League legend, one hell of a player in his time. And it's very interesting, isn't it? A player like that says, I don't see a plan. I don't see a system. The players look lost.
Yeah, 100%. As you know, Shearer's my favourite ever player. So I'm tended to more agree with him than not, but he does talk sense. And what he said there is 100% spot on. The worrying thing is the players don't look like they know what they're doing, basically. And that is on the manager. Yes, you have to put it on the players as well, because the players haven't performed anywhere near good enough during games this season. But and as well, the board, we've been over it how many times? It's like rinse and repeat about transfer windows. They haven't supported managers, blah blah blah. But it's part of the manager's job to get the players up and give them clear instructions. I do worry sometimes that the instructions Thomas Frank is giving the players, it's just too much. It's just too much. Something, Harry Redknapp used to say, just go out and play football and enjoy yourself. Sometimes the easiest and quickest message is the one, And I think somebody said there was a substitution yesterday, the Bergvall one. They took so long explaining things. This is a 90th minute. What can you possibly tactically tell somebody in the 90th minute of a game? Get on and do your stuff,
Well, it was actually Danso was down there as well, about to come on.
He was,
And then Thomas Frank, he was telling the coaches, yes, make the subs, and then a couple of seconds later he said, don't make the subs. I was right behind it, and then he said, yeah, we'll get Bergvall on, and then you're right. It did take a long time, and it was kind of like he just changed his mind a couple of times. Within seconds of thinking, shall I, shan't I? And then he put Bergvall on, and of course Bergvall came straight on and took the throw in. Do you know what? Go on.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I was just going to comment on a few people who mentioned it in the chat there. The players don't look happy. That's worrying for me, and so that would say to me that the players aren't fully aligned with the manager's plan, whatever the hell that is, by the way. And you have to keep players. How many times have we said it? Mickey van der Ven, you get somebody in that they can feel they can work with and actually enjoy playing for this club again. So that soon turns around. That happiness going into work, actually feeling good, That is easy to get back for the players, playing with a smile on your face. That's easy if you make the right appointment.
Very interesting, Craig. I think that defeat and that performance against West Ham yesterday, I think that was the turning point and the breaking point for a lot of fans. I know a lot of Tottenham fans, some are very, very positive people, some are very negative people. And then, of course, there's a lot of people in between. And the positive people and the people who have been extremely positive about Thomas Frank, saying, yeah, it's going to work, give him time, patience, etc. The amount of those people after that game who have either messaged me or I've seen or I spoke to, they're like, no, I'm done. And do you know what? I'm one of those people as well. I can't see this working. And like you said, Thomas Frank is a very nice guy, but sometimes managers are just different and they're not the right fit for certain football clubs. And I just cannot see this working. Even if Maddison came back tomorrow, even if Kulusevski came back tomorrow, I cannot see this working with the system that he tries to play. And when you've got every pundit saying exactly the same thing, when you've got players like Alan Shearer saying there's no system, the players look lost, this is not a good look for the football club. And, I said earlier, no one's very happy at the moment. No one's happy. The players, the fans, the manager, the manager's even come out and said he's not happy. The board are concerned, with Vinay, having issued that message. You can tell everyone is extremely unhappy right now and something drastically needs to change. And when on all of these shows I always give the stats and say Spurs are X amount of points away from the top 5, which could be a Champions League spot. I tell you what, I don't feel like I can do that anymore. I'm more like looking down the table thinking, well, if West Ham win this game and West Ham win this game and Nottingham Forest win this game because they're picking up points, Spurs aren't picking up points right now. And I think we need to be very realistic about this, of where we are in the league. Because when you think, and I can't believe I'm saying this, Burnley away on Saturday, that is a crucial win. That is a must-win game. That is a massive game for us, because going into Feb, the 4 Premier League games that we've got, the 2 Manchesters, Man United, Man City, and then Newcastle, and we've also got Arsenal as well. 3 out of those 4 Premier League games are at home, which should be an advantage. But when you look at the stats of us, our home record is absolutely abysmal. And the booing, I don't think the booing helps, but I'm never going to sit here and tell people how to act or what to do or what to say or whatever. But yeah, it's very toxic at those home games at the moment. It's very, very, very sad to see. There's another report out actually stating that Spurs could go for Oliver Glasner. Of course, I don't know whether you've seen his comments. As Crystal Palace boss, a lot of people expected him to get the sack today. It looks like the board are actually sticking with him. We know he's leaving at the end of the season. And there's also more reports out about Pochettino possibly joining Spurs in the summer. What would you do if you were the board if you were the board right now? What would you do? Would you bring in an interim, someone like Robbie Keane or someone like Harry Redknapp or Jurgen Klinsmann or someone like that, who knows the club, who has been at the club before, who has played for the club, someone who really gets it?
100%. I'll bring in an interim. I don't think making a permanent appointment right now, the way the season's gone, I just don't think that's sort of the thing they should be doing. I think they should be bringing that interim in till the end of the season. And as you know, my opinion, we go for Poch. Glasner wouldn't be high up on my list, I must admit. I personally think he plays less attacking football than I'd like to see at the club. I think he's a great manager, by the way. Again, I'm just concerned he wouldn't be the right fit for Tottenham still long term. So they're going to have to take their time. And if it is Pochettino they go for, I would be amazed if he's not in the conversation. But I'm not sure Robbie Keane would come back at the moment just to be an interim. That's what I would say, because he seems to be doing quite well. But I think you need somebody, whoever that person is, that gets Tottenham Hotspur. Get preferably somebody that's been connected to the club, an ex-player or whatever it is. Like you say, a Jurgen. Can you imagine the lift it would give the place if somebody like a Jurgen Klinsmann came through the door? I know you'd be incredibly excited. You'd probably have a tent outside the stadium, wouldn't you, for the next 5 months? But which you know, I think I'd be in the next tent along with you because I always loved him. But look, they've got to get it right, because it's so low at the moment. It's just incredible. And thinking about it, we could have got Gareth on here, because Gareth McGuinness, who has a lot of input on this channel, he was at the game yesterday, wasn't he? And he'd have been good to get on to just talk a bit more tactically about it, because he can speak about that a lot better than I can. He would have given his views on that. So, and probably added more weight as to why Thomas Frank should be moved on.
Chasey73 says, "Yay!" Chris has smiled. Is it that bad? Is it that bad? You don't see me smile anymore.
It's when I mentioned Jurgen Klinsmann. That's what it was, wasn't it?
I think it was. Yeah. A loan watch here. Oliver Iro enjoyed a dream debut for loan club Mansfield Town on Saturday, coming off the bench to score twice in a 3-0 home victory over Port Vale. The only one I've got today, Craig, in terms of, this is the daily Tottenham transfer news show. We should be talking about potential transfers or potential players going out the door. There's very little news actually today, and all the speculation at the moment is about Thomas Frank going out the door and about a potential replacement coming in. But caught offside of, again stated, and we've mentioned this one before, Oscar Bob has been linked with a move away from Manchester City in recent weeks. I know we've spoken about Marmoush and Savinho as well, but now another Man City player that we're being linked with. The 22-year-old is not a key player for them at the moment. He has dropped down the pecking order after the arrival of Antoine Semenyo from Bournemouth in January. The Norwegian attacker needs to leave the club in order to get his career back on track, and Tottenham would be prepared to provide him with an exit route. More reports on this from Spain. They're stating that Spurs are preparing an offer, £43 million, €50 million to sign the attacker. And it remains to be seen whether they submit the offer in the next couple of days. What do you make of that one? Is he worth £43 million?
I think he's a good player. I think, no, probably not. No, he's... he wouldn't be the one I would go for Manchester City. Look, Oscar Bobby's a really good player, definitely. But I just, for that money, not sure about that one for me. And that's really all I can say on it. I just think, would it excite the fan base? Would that send a message to the fan base that we mean business, bringing in somebody like Oscar Bob? With respect to him, I think he's a really good player, but I think it's too much.
Have you got anything fresh? Anything new?
No. Quite as you said, there's very, very little transfer news. But going back to Iro, is that how you pronounce his surname?
Iro, yeah.
If you haven't seen his goal, one of his goals cut in from the left wing, an absolute banger into the top corner, fantastic goal. So really pleased for him that he has literally hit the ground running. Yeah, really good.
Absolutely. Lastly, will Thomas Frank be in the dugout Tuesday? Because I think he will be.
I hope he's not. I really do. But they got to make an announcement tonight or tomorrow. Effectively, when's his press conference tomorrow for that one? Yeah. He probably will be. I don't get it. But the thing is, we're going to be struggling in that game anyway. So. I don't hold out much hope for us winning that game, sadly, but just get rid. They've got to get rid now. And I'd just like to say, Chris, that absolutely gutted to see Ben Davies go off on oxygen yesterday. I haven't read anything this morning about what they think he might have done. Could be a serious ligament injury or perhaps a leg break. I don't know. I didn't actually see the tackle back, so I couldn't even look at it and say, but either way, absolutely gutted for Ben Davies, and I just hope he's fit for the summer for his sake, not good to see that.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that one up, because there is no further news on that at the moment. So we do await the news of that, and then obviously we'll put it out on the channel as soon as we do here. But as I said at the very start, it is day 18 of this winter window. There are 15 days left. Let's hope that Spurs can do a little bit more business before the end of the window, because we're still 14th in that Premier League table. Of course, we've got 2 more Champions League games in the group stage, and let's see what happens next. But yeah, everyone's feeling a little bit low at the moment, and we could certainly do with a lift or two. And of course, on Tuesday, it's a very, very tough game. Borussia Dortmund at home in the Champions League. The teams are sitting in 10th and 11th in the Champions League table right now, respectively, and Dortmund have lost only 1 game in the Bundesliga so far this season. They're sitting second behind unbeaten Bayern Munich. So they've done extremely well so far this season. Craig, thank you as always. I will see you tomorrow, where hopefully, we are live every single day doing these episodes, the daily Tottenham transfer news show. So hopefully there will be a lot more news to talk about. And hopefully the Sousa one gets announced as well. And thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks for listening, and try to enjoy the rest of your weekend. And we will see you on Monday. Come on, you Spurs.